Galactic Empire confronts Terran fleet. Humanity smiles in amusement sci-fi. These were the ships of the Galactic Empire, a fleet built for dominance, trained for war, and confident in its power. Every ship carried weapons capable of destroying worlds, and every captain believed that the humans, little known and rumored as a minor species, would surrender before a single laser was fired. Admiral Jason Miller stood on the bridge of the lead Imperial ship, his uniform crisp, his posture perfect. He leaned over the console, watching the fleet move with mechanical precision. "Prepare the envoys," he said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of authority. "We will make this quick. Fear is always useful." Across the void, the Terran fleet was waiting. It was smaller than the Empire's, less organized in appearance, but that did not concern its commander. Alex Turner, a tall man with graying hair at the temples, watched the approaching ships with a small, amused smile. Unlike the Empire, the humans did not feel the need to signal fear or aggression. They had faced worse before and survived. "Shields at 70%, Turner said quietly, though no one seemed nervous. The fleet hummed softly as energy flowed through the engines and defensive systems. None of the humans moved in panic. None of them hesitated. They simply waited. The Empire's sensors were scanning constantly, measuring distance, speed, and potential weapon ranges. Lieutenant Mara Quinn adjusted the readings, frowning. "Sir, they are not reacting. Not even a single ship is moving to attack or retreat." Turner shrugged. "Let them watch. We are not here to panic. Let them see that humans do not flinch." In the Imperial fleet, confusion began to spread. The officers whispered among themselves, checking and double-checking their instruments. "Are they hiding something?" one asked. "Are these ships armed?" "They must be," Miller said. "Nothing so still can be harmless." But doubt crept into his tone. He had never seen a species so calm in the presence of overwhelming power. The Empire was used to instant fear, to immediate submission, but the humans showed neither. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the human flagship, Turner leaned against the console, his hands folded. Beside him, Emma Price, the fleet's linguist, adjusted her tablet, ready for the incoming communications. She had studied Imperial languages for years and knew the words that would soon appear across the fleet's transmissions. "They will speak in arrogance," she said softly. "They will try to intimidate us with words meant to frighten." Turner nodded. "Let them. It will make their confusion more entertaining." The Imperial envoys opened the communication channels. The first message appeared in large, glowing letters. "By order of the Galactic Empire, you are to surrender your fleet and submit your species to Imperial rule. Resistance is futile, compliance ensures survival, defiance guarantees destruction." Turner read the message, then smiled. "Polite, predictable, and completely wrong." Emma adjusted the tablet. "They always assume fear is universal. Humans are unusual in that regard." A young officer, Ethan Cole, looked at the message and then at Turner. "Sir, should we respond?" Turner shook his head slightly. "Not yet. Let them talk. Let them fill the silence with threats. They expect panic. They will get patience." The Imperial envoys sent more messages, growing longer, more elaborate. They described in detail the Empire's power, their fleets, their ability to destroy entire systems if humans did not comply. They threatened, they boasted, they tried to charm, they tried to frighten. But the human fleet did not move. Not a single ship shifted position. The humans remained calm, steady, almost amused. In the Empire's ranks, officers began to whisper again. Miller's calm demeanor started to crack as he saw the lack of reaction. "Why are they not scared?" "How can this be?" A communication officer, Lieutenant Kira Voss, hesitated. "Perhaps they do not understand us." Miller slammed a hand on the console. "Do not underestimate them. Every species understands fear." On the human side, Turner laughed quietly. "Some do," he said. "Some do not, and the ones who do not are dangerous, not because they attack first, but because they wait, they think." Emma nodded. "We are not trying to threaten. We are simply observing. We respond when needed, not because someone orders us to." The Empire's fleet began to shift uneasily, their lines less rigid than before. Even small imperfections in formation caused officers to panic internally. What was meant to be a display of power was turning into confusion. How could such a small, seemingly simple species ignore them completely? Turner walked slowly along the bridge, his eyes scanning each officer. "History is full of species who believed in their own superiority," he said softly. "They never learned patience, never learned caution. Humans, we do both, and that makes them nervous. Below decks, engineer Lily Adams checked the systems, making minor adjustments. She smiled faintly. "They will be very confused when they see what we can do," she said. Her voice carried the same calm as every other human on the fleet. There was no pride, no arrogance, just simple understanding that humans had survived hard lessons for centuries. The Empire, watching every move, tried again. This time they sent scouts closer, attempting to gauge the humans' speed and reflexes. They expected evasive maneuvers, frantic responses, anything. Instead, the scouts floated steadily into formation, matching the Terran ship silently, without panic. Miller's hands gripped the rail. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They should be afraid." Ethan Cole spoke again, voice hesitant. "Sir, maybe fear is not universal. Maybe this species does not respond the way we expect." Miller frowned. "Explain." "They wait," Ethan said slowly. "They do not act until necessary. They do not react to threats they can observe. They choose when to respond. That is unusual." Miller's face paled slightly. He had commanded fleets for decades, seen species crumble under even minor threats. And yet here they were. The humans were smiling quietly, calm, patient, completely unconcerned by the Empire's display of might. Turner continued to watch the approaching fleet, noting each minor change in the Imperial formation. "They have the ships. They have the weapons. They assume we fear them. That is their mistake," he said softly. Emma glanced at him. "They always underestimate patience. They never expect calm to be a strategy." Turner nodded. "And they never consider amusement. Humans find strange joy in watching others misunderstand them. They confuse opponents without fighting." As the hours passed, the Imperial fleet grew more tense. The more they tried to dominate, the more frustrated they became at the humans' refusal to panic. Messages poured in, more desperate now, questioning why the humans did not comply, why they did not retreat, why they did not show the fear that was always expected. Turner walked past the bridge windows, watching the stars streak by as the two fleets faced each other. "They do not understand patience," he murmured, "and they do not understand survival. Humans, we survive because we wait, because we think, because we smile in the face of fear." Below him, the engineers and officers worked quietly, calm as ever. The hum of the engines was steady, reassuring, as if the fleet itself knew it was ready for anything but feared nothing. In the Empire, Miller's officers began to argue among themselves. "They cannot be this composed. Every species fears death." Miller's voice was sharper now, though tinged with doubt. "Perhaps some do not. Perhaps some are beyond fear." Turner heard about the Imperial confusion through intercepted communications and simply smiled. He did not gloat, did not boast. He knew humans had survived extinction-level events on their own world. They had learned restraint, patience, observation. Now in space, it seemed to the Empire that the humans were mysterious and unshakable. Hours turned into a day. The Empire expected surrender, expected compliance, expected panic. The humans waited, watched, and smiled quietly. And in that simple patience, in that calm amusement, the balance of power shifted without a single shot fired. Turner finally leaned back, hands behind his head. "Let them think," he said softly. "Let them try to understand. They will see soon enough that we are not afraid and that our patience is stronger than their weapons." And in the darkness of space, the Empire realized slowly that humanity was not like any other species they had met. They did not fear. They did not panic. And they smiled quietly in amusement. The Galactic Empire did not understand patience. They had built their power on fear, on control, and on the knowledge that most species would crumble under the threat of destruction. The human fleet, however, did not act like the Empire expected. They did not retreat. They did not panic. They did not raise shields aggressively. They waited, calm and silent, and the Empire could not understand it. On the human flagship, Commander Alex Turner paced slowly across the bridge. His eyes followed the enemy ships, noting their movements, reading their hesitation. "They are nervous," he said quietly to Emma Price, who sat at her console scanning incoming messages. "Every line, every blink of light, every adjustment, they are unsure. They expected fear. They do not see it, and it unnerves them." Emma nodded. "They never thought a species could remain calm. They never thought humans could choose not to react immediately. It is new for them." Turner leaned on the railing, his fingers brushing the smooth metal. "They will try again. They always try again. And when they fail, they will become desperate." Below decks, engineer Lily Adams adjusted the energy flow to the engines. She was quiet, focused, her hands moving over the controls with careful precision. "They think we are unprepared," she said softly. "They have no idea what we can do even without fighting." A young officer, Peter Hall, glanced at her. "Even without weapons, they think we are weak," Lily shrugged. "They always assume the other species is afraid. That is their mistake. Fear is easy, patience is harder. Survival is hardest of all." The Empire's communications continued, more elaborate now, full of warnings, threats, and promises of punishment. Each message tried to intimidate, each one assumed that humans would react with fear. Turner read the latest message aloud to the bridge crew. "You are small, unprepared, and foolish to resist. Submit now and your species may survive. Resist and we will erase every planet in your system." He paused, a faint smile on his lips. "Notice the pattern?" he asked. "They are repeating themselves. They are desperate to see a reaction. They need a response." Emma adjusted her console. "They always expect fear, they always expect panic, and every species they meet shows it in some way. But humans do not." Turner nodded. "We do not panic, we do not rush, we do not act until necessary. That is our advantage, and they do not see it yet." Meanwhile, in the Empire's fleet, Admiral Jason Miller's officers were beginning to argue among themselves. "Why are they not responding? Why do they not move?" one shouted. "They must be hiding weapons," another officer said. "They are waiting for us to make a mistake." Miller rubbed his temples. "Or they are not afraid. Some species simply do not understand fear the way we do. It is rare, but it exists. Humans may be one of them." Across the bridge, Turner's communications officer intercepted a private transmission from the Empire. The tone was tense, almost fearful. "Commander," the officer said, handing Turner the device, "they are talking among themselves. They are confused. They are trying to understand why we do not react." Turner smiled. "Good, let them try to understand patience. Let them see that humans are different. That is worth more than any weapon at this moment." Hours passed, and the Empire's attempts to intimidate grew more elaborate. They sent scouts to examine the human ships closely. They probed the systems with sensors, trying to detect weaknesses or hidden weapons. They formed tighter formations, attempting to show power and discipline. The human fleet did not move aggressively. They continued their silent observation, noting every sensor sweep, every maneuver of the Empire. Lily adjusted engine output to match the slight pressure from Imperial probes, ensuring the humans were ready if needed, but not reacting unnecessarily. Peter Hall glanced at her. "Should we respond?" Lily shook her head. "Let them wonder. Every second they hesitate, they lose confidence. That is the advantage." Turner walked along the bridge slowly, eyes scanning every officer. "Humans survive because we wait," he said. "We survive because we think, and we survive because we do not act out of fear. That is why they are confused. That is why they are worried." Emma smiled faintly. "They are sending another message." Turner glanced at the console. The Empire had grown more formal, more desperate. They listed their power, their fleets, their ability to destroy every planet humans inhabited. They demanded compliance, promising safety only if humans surrendered immediately. Turner shook his head. "They still do not understand. Humans do not submit to fear. We wait, we think, and we choose our moment. That is what they cannot see." Meanwhile, the humans in the fleet quietly checked their own systems. The engines hummed softly, weapons remained ready but idle, shields active but not aggressive. Everyone knew their place, everyone knew the plan. There was no panic, no rush, no frantic preparation. Everything was precise, calm, and efficient. Lily moved to a console and adjusted minor energy distributions. "Let them get more nervous," she said quietly. "Let them try to predict us. They cannot, they do not understand our patience." Across the Empire fleet, Admiral Miller paced angrily. "They cannot be this calm. Every species shows fear." "They may not understand fear," Kira Voss whispered. "Perhaps some species survive differently." Miller froze, considering her words. "Perhaps we underestimate them." Back on the human flagship, Turner watched the Imperial fleet closely. "They always underestimate patience," he said to himself. "They never expect calm to be a strategy, and patience can be more powerful than any weapon." The Empire, sensing the lack of compliance, began to debate their next move. Some wanted to attack immediately, some wanted to withdraw. Some wanted to continue sending messages, hoping the humans would panic. The tension in their fleet was growing, visible even through distant sensors. Turner smiled faintly. "They are learning," he said. Every failed attempt makes them weaker. Every moment of hesitation teaches them that fear is not universal. Emma glanced at him. They are sending envoys. Perhaps they hope to intimidate face to face. Turner nodded. Let them see us calm, ready, and unafraid. Let them realize that humans do not fight because we must, but because we choose. That will confuse them more than anything. Hours passed, and the Empire's confusion only grew. Their ships, massive and imposing, moved like they were unsure. Their messages became repetitive, desperate, questioning why the humans did not comply, why the humans did not panic, why the humans were so calm. On the human flagship, Turner walked to the observation window. Stars stretched across the sky, and beyond them the Empire's fleet waited anxiously. Turner watched them carefully. He could see the signs of doubt, the subtle hesitation in their maneuvers. Every second the humans gained an advantage without moving a single weapon. Lily Adams adjusted the engine flow again, smiling faintly. "They are very confused," she said. "They think we will panic, they think we will react, but we are not afraid, we never were." Peter Hall shook his head. "It is amazing how calm we are." "I expected some tension at least," Turner chuckled. "Tension is for those who fear. We survive because we think, and we smile because we know patience wins." The Empire, unable to provoke fear, tried again to understand. They sent new messages, offering rewards, threatening punishment, describing the destruction they could bring. They assumed that humans would now act, would show some sign of panic or anger. But the human fleet remained still, calm, and watching. Turner read the latest transmission, then looked at his crew. "Notice their tone," he said. "They are desperate, they expect panic, they will not see it, and every second they wait, they lose control." Emma nodded. "They cannot comprehend patience. They cannot understand amusement. They do not know how to react." Turner smiled. "And that is why humans are dangerous even without firing a shot. They survive because they wait. They survive because they think. And they survive because they do not fear." Below decks, Lily checked the power levels, adjusted minor systems, and smiled faintly. "Let them wonder. Let them think we are weak. That is the real advantage." The Empire's fleet, massive and imposing, had no idea how much they were losing. Every hesitation, every uncertainty, every failed attempt to provoke fear gave the humans a silent victory. Turner knew that the encounter was not about weapons or fleets, but about understanding. And in that understanding, humans held the advantage. As the first day of the standoff ended, the Empire's officers were exhausted, tense, and confused. Their confidence in dominance was gone, replaced by doubt and hesitation. They did not know how to react. They did not understand why humans were so calm, and they did not realize that patience could be more powerful than fleets of weapons. Turner stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars, the Empire's ships, and his own calm fleet. He smiled faintly. "They think they are in control," he said quietly. "They do not see that patience is power and calm is a weapon no one expects." Emma looked at him, smiling. "They will learn soon. They will see that humans survive because we wait, because we choose, and because we do not panic." Turner nodded. "And when they learn, it will be too late. They are already losing." The stars stretched endlessly. The Empire waited, tense and uncertain. The humans smiled quietly in the darkness, calm and prepared. And the balance of power shifted, not by force, not by fear, but by patience, observation, and the quiet strength of a species that refused to be intimidated. The standoff between the Terran fleet and the Galactic Empire continued. Hours turned into a full day, and still the humans did not panic, did not attack, and did not retreat. The Empire's officers were growing increasingly frustrated. They had expected fear, submission, or at least some sign of concern. Instead, the humans remained calm, observant, and silent. On the human flagship, Commander Alex Turner walked slowly along the bridge, his hands behind his back. He watched the massive Imperial fleet through the wide observation windows. "They are very confident," he said quietly to Emma Price, who sat at her console monitoring the incoming transmissions. "But confidence is fragile. Let's see how long theirs lasts." Emma nodded, her fingers moving over the console. "They cannot understand patience. They expect action. They do not expect stillness. They do not expect calm observation. That is why we have the advantage." Turner smiled faintly. "Exactly. Let them watch. Let them feel control, and then show them what we can do without aggression." Below decks, engineer Lily Adams checked the engines and minor systems. Her team moved efficiently, quietly, and with precision. "They assume we are passive," she said softly. "They think calm is weakness. It is not. We have prepared everything we need, and they do not see it." The Empire, still trying to intimidate, sent their scouts closer to probe the Terran ships. Sensors passed over the human fleet, measuring energy levels, engines, shields, and weapon power. They found nothing unusual, nothing aggressive, nothing that would explain the lack of fear. Every scout reported back the same thing: calm, still, steady ships, perfectly positioned, ready but inactive. Admiral Jason Miller's face tightened. He had never commanded a fleet that faced a species so unshakable. "How can this be?" he muttered. "Every species shows fear in the face of superior power, every species except these humans." Kira Voss, one of his lieutenants, leaned close. "Sir, perhaps they do not experience fear in the same way we do. Perhaps their reactions are different. Perhaps patience is their weapon." Miller froze at the words. "Patience a weapon? Impossible." On the Terran bridge, Turner watched the Imperial fleet adjust its formation slightly, almost unconsciously. "They are nervous," he said. "They think they are controlling this. They are not. Let's keep observing." Emma smiled. "They cannot see the truth. They cannot see what we are capable of without firing a single shot." Then, in a quiet corner of the human flagship, Lily and her engineering team began a subtle maneuver. It was a demonstration of human ingenuity, but it required no violence. They adjusted the energy flow to the engines, creating a slight gravitational ripple around the fleet. The effect was small, almost invisible, but enough to confuse the Empire's sensors. Back on the Imperial flagship, the readings suddenly shifted. Sensors flickered, showing slight anomalies. "What is happening?" shouted one officer. "Our instruments, they are failing. Something is interfering with the sensors." Admiral Miller's face went pale. "Impossible. There should be no interference. Their ships are stationary." "Nothing is moving." Turner, observing through the sensors of the Empire's fleet, allowed himself a quiet smile. "It's working," he said. "They cannot understand what they are seeing. They do not know what to think." Emma leaned forward, pointing at the console. "The ripple is subtle, but it is affecting their calculations. They cannot track our positions accurately. They are overestimating and underestimating at the same time." The Empire scrambled. Orders were shouted across the fleet, trying to regain control of their sensors. Officers argued with each other, trying to decide whether the anomaly was a malfunction or a deliberate action by the humans. Each passing second increased their confusion. On the human bridge, Turner addressed his officers calmly. "Do not fire. Do not act aggressively. Let them see, let them realize that patience and ingenuity are as dangerous as weapons." Peter Hall, a young officer, looked puzzled. "Sir, should we show more? They seem completely confused." Turner shook his head. "Let the ripple continue, no more than they can notice. This is enough. The lesson is not in destruction. The lesson is in perception." In the Empire, Admiral Miller was forced to call a council. His captains gathered in the command chamber, each more tense than the last. "Their ships have not moved, and yet our sensors fail," one captain said. "We cannot determine their speed, their strength, or even their position accurately. How can this be?" Miller took a deep breath. "We are facing a species unlike any other. They are calm. They are patient. They are unpredictable, and that is their power." Kira Voss frowned. "Unpredictable, but they are not attacking. How can stillness be a threat?" "They survive," Miller said quietly, almost to himself. "They have survived worse than this. They have learned patience, observation, and ingenuity, and we have never faced that before." Meanwhile, on the human side, Turner walked past the observation deck, watching the Imperial fleet struggle with their instruments. "Patience, observation, calm," he said softly. "They cannot see it, but it is a weapon they do not understand." Emma nodded. "And we do not need to fire a single shot. That is the true power of humans. We survive, we think, and we wait for the right moment." The Empire, increasingly desperate, attempted another maneuver. They sent scouts even closer, trying to determine what the humans were doing. Every measurement returned the same results. Normal ships, normal engines, no visible weapons changes, nothing aggressive. Peter Hall leaned forward, curious. "Sir, do you think they will attack us? They seem confused, but they could act at any time." Turner shook his head. "They will not. They will continue to expect fear, to expect panic. That is their mistake. Humans act when necessary, not when threatened, and right now there is no threat we cannot handle calmly." Below decks, Lily and her engineers continued minor adjustments, keeping the fleet in perfect balance. "They think we are stationary," she said quietly. "But we can move, adjust, and adapt without them knowing. That is enough to unsettle them." The Empire's fleet, massive and imposing, began to show signs of internal friction. Officers whispered, doubted, and argued. "We cannot track them accurately," one shouted. "Our readings are unreliable. How do we respond?" Admiral Miller's voice was tense. "They are calm, they are observing, they are waiting, and they are teaching us something we do not understand." Turner watched the tension grow across the void. "Let them learn," he said. "Let them understand that humans do not panic. Let them see that stillness is strength and patience is power." Emma pointed at the console. "The ripple is creating subtle changes in the local space. They are overestimating, underestimating, and miscalculating all at once. Every second they hesitate, they lose confidence." Turner nodded. "And every second we wait, we gain advantage. This is not war, this is perception, and perception can be more powerful than any weapon." Hours passed. The Empire continued to struggle with their instruments, trying desperately to understand the humans. They sent more messages, demanded compliance, and attempted minor maneuvers to test the fleet. Each time, the humans responded calmly, without aggression, without panic. Below decks, Lily and her team worked quietly. "They cannot see what we are doing," she said. "They think our stillness is weakness. That is their mistake. It is our strength." On the bridge, Turner walked slowly, watching the Empire's frustration grow. "They expected fear," he said softly. "They expected submission. They do not see patience. They do not see calm, and that is why they are losing control." Emma smiled faintly. "It is amazing. We are not fighting, and yet they are uncertain. They cannot understand us." "That is the power of humans." Peter Hall shook his head. "I never imagined stillness could be so effective." Turner chuckled. "It is not stillness alone. It is patience, observation, and understanding. We act when necessary, not because someone expects us to react. That is why humans survive." The Empire's officers were exhausted, their confidence shaken. Their fleet, though massive, seemed uncertain and fragile. Every failed attempt to provoke a response weakened them. Every failed calculation increased their doubt. Turner watched through the observation windows as the Empire's ships shifted slightly, trying to regain control. "Let them try," he said quietly. "Let them see that humans are not afraid, that our calm, our patience, and our observation are stronger than their arrogance." Emma adjusted her console. "They are sending another message. They want a reaction. They expect anger, fear, or panic." Turner smiled. "Let them wait. Let them expect. They will see eventually that patience is more powerful than aggression." Below decks, Lily nodded to her team. "Keep the ripple steady, nothing obvious. Let them wonder, let them miscalculate. That is all we need." Hours passed. The Empire's fleet was tense, confused, and uncertain. The humans remained calm, patient, and ready. And in that silence, in that quiet observation, the balance of power shifted without a single shot fired. Turner looked at the stars and then at the Empire's fleet. "They will learn soon," he said. "They will see that humans survive because we wait, because we choose, and because we do not fear. And when they understand that, it will be too late." And in the quiet void of space, the humans continued to watch, to wait, and to demonstrate without violence that patience and calm could be more powerful than fleets, weapons, or threats. The Galactic Empire's fleet had spent nearly 2 days attempting to intimidate the humans. They had sent messages filled with threats, deployed scouts, adjusted formations, and tried to provoke fear. And yet the humans remained calm. They watched, they waited, and they did not panic. Every passing hour made the Empire's officers more confused and frustrated. Admiral Jason Miller stood on his bridge, his eyes flicking across the sensor readings. Every instrument told him something different. Every report contradicted the others. "How can this be?" he muttered. "Every species has fear. Every species reacts to superior force." "Why do they not respond?" Lieutenant Kira Voss, standing beside him, swallowed nervously. "Sir, perhaps they do not experience fear like we do. Perhaps humans are different. Perhaps calmness is their strength." Miller shook his head. "Impossible. Calmness is not a weapon. Patience is not a defense. Yet, they survive, they do not panic, and we cannot predict them. That is what is troubling." Across the void, Commander Alex Turner watched the Empire's fleet carefully. The humans had spent the past 2 days observing and making subtle adjustments to their own systems, creating small anomalies that the Empire could detect but not understand. The ripple of gravitational energy from their engines had already caused the Empire to miscalculate several times. Turner smiled faintly. "They think they are in control," he said to Emma Price. "They cannot see that observation, patience, and calm are our weapons. They expect aggression, but we are not aggressive. That confuses them more than any laser ever could." Emma nodded. "They cannot comprehend the idea that humans do not panic. That is why they are beginning to hesitate." Below decks, engineer Lily Adams checked minor systems, adjusting flows and power distribution. "They are very confused," she said softly to her team. "They cannot tell what we are doing. They cannot predict us. That is enough." Peter Hall, a young officer, glanced at her. "Sir, what is our next step? We have not fired a shot, and they are still massive and intimidating." Turner shook his head. "No weapons are needed right now. The point is not destruction. The point is perception. Let them understand that we act when necessary, not because they threaten us." Meanwhile, in the Empire's command chambers, Admiral Miller gathered his captains. Their voices were tense, anxious, and uncertain. "Our instruments cannot track them properly," one said. "We cannot calculate their movements or even detect their intentions accurately." Another captain added, "Their calmness is disarming. We expected fear, panic, or at least compliance. Instead, nothing." Miller clenched his hands. "We are facing a species unlike any we have encountered. Their calm, their patience, and their observation skills make them unpredictable, and unpredictability is dangerous." Kira Voss, hesitant but determined, spoke. "Sir, perhaps this is their strength. Perhaps humans survive because they do not react immediately. Perhaps their calm is more powerful than weapons." Miller frowned, thinking, "Perhaps they have survived worse than we can imagine. Perhaps they have learned from extinction, from disasters, from events we cannot comprehend, and now they are here unshakable." Back on the human flagship, Turner watched the Empire struggle with their confusion. "Let them learn," he said quietly. "Let them understand that humans survive not because of weapons, but because of thinking, patience, and choice. Let them see that calm is more powerful than fear." Emma adjusted her console. "They are sending more messages. They want a reaction. They expect anger, panic, or aggression. They do not understand that we act on purpose, not because we are forced." Turner nodded. "Let them wait. Let them hope for a reaction. That is their mistake." In the Empire fleet, frustration reached a breaking point. Officers shouted orders, tried to correct their sensors, and debated whether the humans had hidden weapons or unusual technology. They could not understand why their scans showed normal readings, why their maneuvers produced no reaction, and why the humans remained perfectly still. Admiral Miller's voice rang through the command chamber. "We are underestimating them. That is our mistake. They are patient. They observe, and they survive in ways we do not expect. That is why we are confused." Meanwhile, Turner walked along the bridge, observing his officers. "They expect panic," he said quietly. "They expect submission, but humans do not submit to fear. We wait, we observe, and we act when necessary. That is what they cannot see." Below decks, Lily and her engineering team continued subtle adjustments. They shifted power distributions, slightly altered engine outputs, and created controlled gravitational variations. The effects were small, almost invisible, but they were enough to further confuse the Empire's sensors. Peter Hall watched, fascinated. "It is amazing how calm we are," he said, "and yet they are completely uncertain." Lily smiled faintly. "That is the power of humans. We do not panic, we do not act impulsively, and that is why we survive." The Empire, still struggling, attempted a coordinated maneuver to force the humans to react. They adjusted their fleet formations, moved scouts closer, and sent precise messages demanding compliance. But the humans did not respond aggressively. They remained calm, steady, and observant, causing more hesitation in the Empire's fleet. Miller paced in frustration. "They cannot be this patient. Every species reacts to superior force. Every species shows fear. Why do they not?" Kira Voss spoke softly. "Sir, perhaps patience is their defense. Perhaps calm is their strength. Perhaps they survive because they do not panic." Miller considered her words. "Perhaps, and if that is true, then we have underestimated them, severely." Turner watched the Empire carefully. He could see the signs of doubt, hesitation, and confusion in their movements. The humans had done nothing aggressive, yet they had already shifted the balance of power. The Empire was losing control, not through weapons or attacks, but through uncertainty and misunderstanding. Emma pointed at the console. Their calculations are all wrong now. They cannot determine our speed, our position, or even our intentions accurately. Every second they hesitate gives us advantage. Turner nodded. And that advantage is more valuable than any weapon. Let them learn patience the hard way. Hours passed. The Empire tried again, sending messages filled with threats and promises. They adjusted their fleet formations, attempted to probe weaknesses, and tried to intimidate. Each attempt failed. Each attempt increased their uncertainty. Below decks, Lily whispered to her team. They think our calm is weakness. That is their mistake. We are not weak. We are ready, we are prepared, and we survive because we wait. Peter Hall shook his head in awe. I never imagined stillness could be so powerful. Turner smiled. It is not stillness alone, it is observation, patience, and understanding. We act when necessary, not because someone threatens us. That is why humans are strong. In the Empire, officers grew tense. They could not understand how the humans remained calm, how they observed without panic, and how they adjusted subtly without aggression. Every failed attempt to provoke a response made them weaker. Every failure to intimidate made them more anxious. Admiral Miller's voice was quiet but firm. We are facing a species that survives differently. They do not act from fear. They act from choice. They are patient, observant, and calm, and that makes them dangerous. Turner walked slowly across the observation deck. They expected fear, they expected submission, but humans, we do not panic. We wait, we think, and we act when necessary. That is the lesson they will learn. Emma looked at him. They are sending another message, desperate, demanding, but still confused. Turner nodded. Let them wonder, let them try to predict us. That is the advantage. They cannot understand our patience, our observation, our calm, and that is why we survive. Below decks, Lily adjusted engine power again, creating another subtle ripple in space. It was invisible to most, but it caused the Empire to misread their sensors, further heightening their confusion. Peter Hall shook his head. It is incredible. They have no idea what we are doing, and yet we do not attack, and they are still nervous. Lily smiled faintly. That is human strength, calmness, patience, and observation. We survive because we do not panic. That is why they are learning, slowly, that we are dangerous even without firing a single shot. The Empire continued to struggle, sending more scouts, adjusting formations, and sending more messages. They could not understand the humans. They could not predict them. They could not intimidate them. Every passing hour made the humans stronger in perception, while the Empire grew weaker in confidence. Turner watched silently. They will learn soon, he said. They will see that humans survive because we wait, because we choose, and because we do not fear. And when they understand that, it will be too late. And in the quiet darkness of space, the humans continued to watch, to wait, and to demonstrate their strength without aggression. The Empire did not yet realize it, but the true lesson had already begun. Patience, calm, and observation could be more powerful than fleets, weapons, or threats. The Galactic Empire's fleet was tense and uncertain. For nearly 3 days, they had faced the Terran fleet without causing a single panic, without provoking any reaction, and without understanding the humans at all. Every threat, every maneuver, every attempt to intimidate had failed. And still the humans remained calm, patient, and observant. Admiral Jason Miller stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, his eyes scanning the sensor readings with disbelief. Every reading seemed normal, yet nothing matched what they had expected. Their calculations were wrong, their predictions failed, and their confidence had eroded more with every passing hour. They are still calm, he said quietly to Kira Voss. They do not panic, they do not flee, they do not react aggressively, and we cannot understand why. Voss nodded. Sir, I think we are beginning to understand. Humans do not act out of fear, they act because they choose. They are patient, observant, and calm. That is their strength. Miller rubbed his temples. Strength without aggression, patience as a weapon. It is unfamiliar, dangerous. Across the void, Commander Alex Turner walked slowly on the human flagship's bridge, his hands behind his back. The Empire's fleet seemed impressive, massive, and organized, but their tension was visible even through distant sensors. The humans had not fired a single weapon, and yet they held the advantage. Emma Price, monitoring incoming transmissions, smiled faintly. They are sending another message. They are growing desperate. They want compliance, but they cannot provoke a reaction. Turner nodded. Let them try. Every failed attempt teaches them a lesson they cannot understand. Patience, calm, observation, that is our power. Below decks, engineer Lily Adams made minor adjustments to the engines and energy flows. The subtle gravitational ripples she created had continued to confuse the Empire's sensors, causing miscalculations and hesitation. "They cannot predict us," she said softly. "They cannot see what we are capable of. That is enough." Peter Hall, a young officer, looked puzzled. "Sir, they are massive. They could attack us at any moment. Why do we not act?" Turner smiled faintly. "We act when necessary, not because someone expects us to. They cannot predict patience. They cannot predict calm. That is why we survive." In the Empire's fleet, confusion turned to anxiety. Officers shouted orders, tried to reestablish sensor accuracy, and debated whether to attack, withdraw, or continue their attempts to intimidate. Every choice seemed wrong. Every prediction failed. Admiral Miller sighed deeply. "We have underestimated them," he said. "We assumed fear, panic, or submission. None came. They are patient. They are observant. They survive in ways we do not understand. That is why we are losing control." Kira Voss spoke quietly. "Sir, perhaps this is the first time we have encountered a species that does not react to fear. Perhaps humans survive because they wait, because they think, and because they do not panic." Miller shook his head. "It is hard to accept, but I think you are correct. Their calm is more dangerous than any fleet we could deploy." Turner watched through the observation window as the Empire attempted another maneuver. They shifted their formation slightly, tried to probe the human fleet, and sent more messages filled with threats and promises. But the humans did not respond aggressively. They simply observed, waited, and adjusted subtly without alarming the Empire further. Emma nodded to Turner. "They are making small mistakes now. Hesitation, miscalculations, it is growing. They are beginning to doubt their own superiority." Turner smiled. "That is the point. Fear is not universal, calm is not weakness, observation is power, and now they are learning it the hard way." Below decks, Lily adjusted the engine flows again, creating minor variations that subtly changed the gravitational fields around the fleet. The Empire's sensors misread the human positions slightly, increasing their confusion. "They cannot see," she said quietly. "They cannot predict. They assume aggression is the only way to respond. That is their mistake." Peter Hall shook his head. "I never imagined patience could be this effective." Turner chuckled. "It is not just patience, it is patience with understanding. We survive because we think, because we wait, because we act deliberately. That is why humans are stronger than they realize." The Empire's fleet, massive and imposing, tried one final approach. They sent their fastest ships to probe the humans closely, attempted precision maneuvers, and projected confidence. And yet, every action failed to provoke the desired reaction. Their messages became desperate, their officers tense, and their fleet hesitant. Miller looked at the screen and frowned. "They cannot be this composed. Every species panics eventually. Every species reacts. Why do they not?" Voss spoke quietly. "Because they are human, sir. They have survived extinction events, natural disasters, and hardships beyond imagination. They have learned to wait, to observe, and to act only when necessary. Calm is their strength." Miller exhaled. "Then we have misjudged them entirely. Their survival skills, their patience, their calm, it makes them dangerous beyond our understanding." Turner, observing the Empire's struggle, addressed his officers calmly. "Let them see our calm. Let them see that we do not panic. Let them see that we are ready but not reactive. That is the lesson they will carry home." Emma nodded. "They cannot understand stillness. They cannot comprehend calm observation, and that is why they hesitate." Hours passed, and the Empire's officers were exhausted, their confidence shattered. They could not predict the humans, could not understand their behavior, and could not intimidate them. Every failed maneuver, every misread sensor, and every unprovoked calm moment gave the humans silent control. Below decks, Lily and her team worked quietly. "Let them wonder," she said softly. "Let them miscalculate. Let them doubt themselves. That is enough." Peter Hall looked around in awe. "It is incredible. We have not fired a shot, and yet we hold the advantage." Turner smiled. "That is the power of humans, patience, observation, calm, and deliberate action. They cannot understand it. That is why we survive and why they will respect us." Finally, after nearly 3 full days of standoff, the Empire's fleet slowed. Their officers were visibly frustrated, exhausted, and unsure. Messages became more cautious, less threatening, and filled with uncertainty. The humans had won the psychological battle without aggression. Miller sat down heavily in his chair. We underestimated them, he admitted. Their calm, their patience, their ability to survive without panic. It is a lesson we cannot ignore. They are not a minor species. They are something else entirely. Voss nodded. Yes, sir, they do not fight because they are afraid. They fight when necessary, and that is why we have lost control even without a single shot fired. Turner watched the Imperial fleet carefully, noting their hesitation and doubt. Let them learn, he said quietly. They will leave with a new understanding. Humans survive because we wait, because we think, because we choose, and that is more powerful than any weapon. Emma smiled faintly. They are finally slowing their advance. They are realizing that threats alone do not work. Lily and her engineering team continued minor adjustments, ensuring the fleet remained ready, calm, and fully in control of the situation. They think they have the upper hand, she said softly, but they have already lost. They do not see it yet. Peter Hall shook his head. All without firing a single shot. I never imagined it could be done. Turner nodded. It is not about aggression. It is about understanding. It is about patience, observation, and calm. That is human strength. That is why we survive. The Empire's fleet finally stopped all aggressive maneuvers. They remained in formation, but their confidence was gone. Messages became polite, cautious, and even respectful. For the first time, humans were being seen as equals, if not something more. Miller sighed deeply. They have taught us a lesson, he admitted. We assumed power through fear, but fear does not affect them. Calmness, patience, and observation are their weapons. And we cannot overcome that with fleets or threats. Voss nodded. It is a humbling realization, sir. Humans are dangerous not because they fight recklessly, but because they survive wisely. Turner watched silently as the Empire adjusted their communications, signaling a desire to negotiate. The standoff was over, not with destruction or surrender, but with understanding. Humans had shown their strength, not through violence, but through patience, calm, and observation. Emma glanced at Turner. They are sending a formal request to open diplomatic channels. They want to understand us. Turner nodded slowly. Let them. They will learn eventually that humans survive not because we panic, not because we react immediately, but because we wait, think, and act with purpose. That is our lesson, and it is worth more than any victory in battle. Below decks, Lily smiled. They cannot see it, but we have already won. They misjudged us, and that is enough. Peter Hall shook his head in amazement. We never fired a shot, and yet they respect us now. It is incredible. Turner looked out at the stars, at the Empire's massive fleet, and then back at his own calm, ready, and efficient crew. Let them remember this moment, he said softly. Let them remember that humans survive because we choose to, because we think, because we are patient, and because we do not fear. That is why we endure. That is why we are dangerous. As the Empire's fleet slowly began to withdraw to their own territory, the humans watched quietly. No celebration, no triumphal moves, just calm observation and readiness. The standoff had ended, not with fire, but with understanding. Humanity had proven its value, not as a species to be feared through weapons, but as a species to be respected for patience, wisdom, and resilience. In the darkness of space, the Empire would carry this lesson. Fear did not dominate humans. Threats did not control them. Calm, patience, and careful observation were their true strength, and the galaxy had just begun to realize that a smile from a human could be more unsettling than the flash of any weapon. Turner stood quietly on the observation deck, looking at the retreating Empire. They will tell others, he said softly. They will remember that humans do not panic, that humans wait, observe, and act deliberately, and one day they will understand that our patience is more powerful than their fleets. Emma smiled. They have already begun to learn, Commander. They cannot unsee it now. Turner nodded, a faint smile on his lips. And that is the true victory. The stars stretched endlessly. The Terran fleet moved steadily, calm and ready. Humanity had not fired a shot, yet they had won respect, confidence, and recognition across the void. In the silence of space, a lesson had been taught. Patience, calm, and understanding were the greatest weapons a species could possess. And in that quiet victory, humanity smiled, not in arrogance, but in quiet amusement, knowing that survival, patience, and wisdom had once again proven stronger than fear.